Okay, so remember that they're changing my voice. Right now I'm being fumed, but not as badly as yesterday. Yesterday was so bad that I couldn't even go out again to release my video. Often I have just enough service at my house to kind of release the video from home, to put it from private to public after I upload it. I wasn't even able to do that. Okay, I was fumed so heavily. My mom, who has asthma, was very sick. And again, I'm not moved in the slightest. I'm the top martial artist ever. I'm the true definition of a man. And so everyone on this planet could suffer miserably and die because I serve God, and I wouldn't be moved in the slightest. I would take tally of who's guilty for it, and I would report to God, and I know for sure that I'm right about this. We see also that they're going out of their way to kind of confuse you about the things that I need to make a good video. And again, I know my videos are suppressed. I've brought this up many, many times. I've brought up many times that I continue to make them for moral repetition. While everyone else is rolling with the New World Order, I'm in the moral repetition of making these videos, and sometimes they do break free a little bit and I get like 30, 40 views, especially when I haven't been to that channel in a while. So when I switch channels for a year or so, the last videos on the channel tend to get more views than they otherwise would. So when we look at Job 4, it talks about how a spirit is said to have glided by Job, or rather the author in that. Okay, I'm doing off the top of my head real quickly here, but it brings up a spirit. In the next chapter, chapter 5, it's where it talks about the sword of the mouth. It talks about God saving people from the stroke of the sword. And notice they use the word stroke, strike, right? Striking, and king. This has been used to try to threaten me, with my parents having a stroke, what have you. When I was here, when my grandmother was here, because she's from Nigeria, she had a stroke, and eventually they would go on and on about having caused her death, and they would bring up outrageous things that cost them dearly. So are you on the side of the debate of the person who is willing to die at the drop of a hat for God, or the disgusting monsters who go after the most righteous people, and they're raping kids and all kinds of stuff? Some of them are Republicans, they control both the left and right. They control Democrats, Republicans, they control libertarians, they control every group. So are you playing stupid in one of these groups? After these people persecute God's son and his family, and say disgusting things, and rape people, and send me messages in the news. Now, every gang member on this planet knows that people send hidden messages. There's gang code, there's police code. Okay? It's part of war. There's military codes. The Enigma encoder, for example. The Enigma machine or whatever. There was a movie about it. Cracking codes. They say crackhead. Okay, and cracking codes. There's a lot of reasons I'm right. And when my grandma died, she cracked her head, and so on and so forth. So there's some kind of, the Riddler, right? The Joker, and they think it's sweet, right? These kind of psychopaths. And these are the people that dominate society. And so when you're the top martial artist ever, it is impossible for you to respect them. It's impossible for you to think that they're magically above you. It's impossible for you to respect people following them. It's impossible for you to bless them or the people following them, or anyone not obeying God through you. When you're truly the top martial artist, not just, somebody who does tricks like Bruce Lee did, or some MMA fighter, but the guy who truly could beat anybody one-on-one, fair and square, with weapons or otherwise. I would break them down. I would crush their spines. I would crush their joints. I'm much more fast than they are, much more intense. They try to take me down like an MMA fighter, I'd crush their spine. There's a reason why blows to the back of the head and spine are illegal in MMA fighting. Because a grappler doesn't have a chance in hell against me. He has a chance against people who don't know what they're doing, but not to the best striker in human history, the best striker ever possible. Naturally, fair and square, what have you. So when you look at this thing, how can you not see that it is disgusting to have children not only with the oppressor, but with those who follow the oppressor, male and female alike. What kind of spirit are they in? The spirit of killing Christ's grandmother and mocking him while they're raping kids and raping women? It's disgusting. They think it's smart. And these people give these orders all the time. They put their heads together in large groups, right? There's tons and tons of millionaires in America, 22.5 million millionaires and billionaires in America alone. And there's globalists, and there's millionaires and billionaires all over the world. And they put their heads together, and this is what they come up with. Who raised them? Do they call that having heart? They call their marriages valid? Tell me, do you mock Christ's grandmother before, during, or after you get married? When your kids are born, at funerals? Can you imagine being so dumb that you're on their side? But yet you people move in their spirits. You people obey them and not me. So we look at Job. A key theme in Job is about the wicked's fate versus the righteous. And they make it crystal clear. And they also use being a warrior as a theme. When God answers Job and the three older men and the one younger person that were talking with him in the story, he talks about warrior activities. He said, can you approach these warrior spirits that I created? He talks about, can you strike them? Can you strike them down? The Lord is a warrior, and it's proven time and time again. The Riddler, the Joker, Harley Quinn, the churches, the mosques, the synagogues. Who raised you that you're so afraid to rally to the King of Kings? What philosophy do you have that you're so afraid to rally to the King of Kings? What religion? What kind of males do you have in your family? What is your physiology? What are your genetics? And then you act like children. You want me to pretend that you're magically above everybody or something? It's pretty pathetic, right? Pretty straightforward. Real quick, I want to touch on this topic. If you desecrated a Muslim temple or a Buddhist temple or a Christian's church or, a Jewish synagogue, or, they'd be upset, right? Because that's their flow. If it was a Satanist and it was their local church, they might even be upset, but let's say they weren't, because that's not his flow. Their argument isn't that they get upset over that, so that you can't hold them to the same standard. So when you look at it in terms of anger and provocation, it's who, what, when, where, how, why, and is it logical? So when they kept me from a suitable helper, that was part of my flow, right? It's not necessarily part of the Buddhist flow, but it's part of my flow. In the Zulu tribe, for example, which is very similar to the Igbo tribe for various reasons, we look at the history of the migration of people, etc., etc. Shaka Zulu was said to reward the warriors with attractive females. We see in the ghetto these females dressing provocatively, and 13% of gang-related homicides are said to be directly attributable to romance-related issues. We see the 50% divorce rate in America. We see in the book Fighting for Honor, where part of how they got a rise out of martial artists was they had females, kind of saying things to them that would, trigger an emotional response. So I am not a Buddhist. I'm not a pacifist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't deal with anger the same way that they do. If you keep me from martial arts because you're fuming and poisoning me with 23 witnesses on record, it is logical for me to be angry because you've interfered with my coping mechanism, and there's no way that I'm going to turn to another race or another religion or to mental health to cope. They are the opposition view. Should we set the stage for, Democrats to be thrown to the psych ward by Republicans, for example, and tortured until they take on a Republican point of view? What's more un-American than that? So then why am I being tortured and fumed and provoked because I won't be gay, because I won't take on a white or Jewish view or token minority view or another view? I'm being persecuted for my religious beliefs, and that they have been proven to be superior. In this very trying period of time, we see I'm the only one standing firm for moral precision. Yet countless people from countless other points of views are persecuting me. Like I said before, and I'm going to, I don't necessarily mean to insult you when I say this right now, but I'd be right to insult you. If I want to learn to be a bitch, I'll go straight to you people in that scenario. But that is not my goal. That's not who I am. If I want to learn to be part of a philosophy whose adherents are complete fucking cowards, then in that scenario, perhaps I go straight to you oppressors. But that's not what I want to do, and that's not who I am. And when you keep a brain-searching son who's the most romantic person that ever lived from a suitable helper, while you rape women, while you provoke him talking about what you did to his grandmother, obviously, it's understandable if he took off on you. If he started lighting people up like the 4th of fucking July, it would be understandable. And you people's inability to admit that is to your great shame. You can't do whatever you want to people and expect there to be no repercussions. That is fucking sick. And when I've reported it to the Justice Department, to the FBI, to the Santa Clara Sheriff's Department, to Internal Affairs, and they ignore it. This is why you have a mass shooter problem in America. I don't plan to be a mass shooter or something. I don't even have a gun. But this is why you have a mass shooting problem in America. This is why there's so many terrorists. This is why there's so many gang members, so many people locked up. Because you people do people wrong in a calculated manner like a bunch of psychopaths and narcissists. And you refuse to be men and women and take responsibility. And now God has sent his son, and you've done it to me too. The most important parable is the parable of the tenants. Last of all, he sent his son. And then you're going to act like some grammar Nazis or something? What, are you Jewish when you do? Are you Germanic? Are you Nordic? Why you do? Would that not be to your shame even more? You act like grammar Nazis and say change his voice so they don't listen to him. When Christ was on the cross, did people stop listening to him? When Christ fell down and had something similar to a panic attack in the story, did people no longer listen to him? When Christ wept in the story, someone with sense don't give a fuck about that. And they think you're inferior for doing that. That's something that somebody who's inferior would do. You don't prove you're superior by changing someone's voice, especially when they call you on it, changing the sound of his voice, his speech patterns. That's some bitch ass shit. The person on the football team historically would say it's some bitch ass shit. The skater would say it's some bitch ass shit. The rock and roll, the rockster, the rocker would say it's some bitch ass shit. The gangster would say it's some bitch ass shit. The more jock-like politician would say it's some bitch ass shit. The bodybuilder would say it's some bitch ass shit. The Christian, Muslim, and Jew would say it's childish. Yet you think it's the fucking truth. You think it's what's serving your country and your families. It's fucking pathetic. I'll tell you, an injustice for one is an injustice for all. When someone is the one, the alpha, freedom of speech, freedom of religion will never again mean a fucking thing in this country. The only chance it had was you treating me fairly, and you were unable to do that. All the people in the military are supposed to be standing their post and ready to die on the drop of a hat for this country. Let this country down. Say God before nation. And they claim to be man, and they sat there twiddling their thumbs with pink boots and a thong while this played out. Utterly disgracing their families and country. Utterly disgraced. Is the answer to cover this up like bitches? All those groups I just mentioned, if they knew, would say that's some bitch ass fucking shit. whether you plan to cover it up or not, especially if you plan to cover it up. And that bitch-ass shit becomes your spirit, because the spirit of the planet, especially America and Israel, the UK and Germany, as those are the main people running America. People of Germanic descent are the largest group of white people in America. Like 23% of white people in America are of Germanic descent. So what does this say about people of Germanic descent? The English is part of the Anglosphere. The English are very influential here. So what does this say about people of English descent? The Jews have inordinate influence here. So what does it say about them? The LGBT community, especially in California, what does it say? What becomes of their spirit then? Are they honoring the race, clan, and country? Or are they extremely fucking dishonored when the pinnacle of masculinity comes here and says, man up and do the right thing, and not a man among them? What the fuck does it say about them? In psychology, it would be called a quantitative study. It took a large group of people, and some were very involved, qualitative. And what was their response? What was the spirit of Germany and England and America and Israel and the Jewish people and the LGBT community in this case? Was it brilliant? Was it respectable? Was it bravery? Was it honor? Or was it childish, pitiful, and pathetic, to say the least?